You need a lesson, baby, in astronomy. The water spin around you like to make it seem ain't even complicated. Ain't even complicated. Ain't no use in trying to disprove it. No one denied. Might as well face it, you're a star, babe. Ooh. Yeah, you're a star, baby. Ooh.
Shine, yeah. You're a star, baby, you're so fine, yeah. It's that twinkle, twinkle, baby. It's that glitter, it's that glow. This that had to make a song about it, just to let you know. This that don't stress, girl. This that go with the flow. At your best, girl. You know they already know. I just want to help you out on the ride to the top. Girl, you fly, you the star. Cause I get up in the sky.
Everything touches gold. You wanna feel like you're up on your own. But baby, don't you go. Try breaking our hearts with all that fake love for sure. Might as well face it, you're a star, babe. Ooh. Yeah, you're a star, baby. Ooh.
Maybe you can see perfect's kind of boring. You'd rather take your chances here with me.
I wanna feel reborn, wanna feel revelation. And we can go deeper as far as imagination. And if we get there, I won't ever let go. 'Cause love's not perfect, but won't ever show.
I'm just looking for a fire starter, fire starter, fire starter. Looking for a fire starter, fire starter. Looking for a fire starter, fire starter, fire starter. Looking for a fire starter.
Someone to set me on fire. Fire. Let it up. Let me on fire. Fire. Let it up. Set me on fire.
Maybe you can see perfect's kind of boring. You'd rather take your chances here with me.
I wanna feel whole, I wanna lose reservations. I wanna touch heaven, all of its constellations. And if we get there, I won't ever let go. 'Cause love's not perfect, but won't ever show.
I'm just looking for a fire starter, fire starter, fire starter. Looking for a fire starter, fire starter. Looking for a fire starter, fire starter, fire starter. Looking for a fire starter.
Someone to set me on fire. Fire. Let it up.
Marketing is a mathematical equation, not an emotional decision. You see, the question is not if Facebook ads will work, it's when it works and how that looks for you. If it was easy, everybody would be running a 7-figure brand. But it isn't. It takes passionate leadership, smart operations, and powerful marketing to truly win. And with the right frameworks and mindset, anything is possible. You only fail when you decide to quit. When life gets tough, you get tougher. When the campaigns tank, you get wiser. When it feels like nothing is working, you push harder. And when you're winning, you remember that feeling. Strive for greatness. Don't settle for average results. Fight like your family, team, customers, and business depend on it, because they do. This is the E-Commerce Alley.
Welcome to the E-Commerce Alley, everybody. Good to see you. Today we're going to be talking about some fun stuff. We're going to talk about ads, which we're going to talk about all next week. So you better be ready, because we're going to break down today what we call the AdLab method that we use to spend a lot of money on Facebook super profitably. We get emails every day from people that use this methodology that are growing their businesses like crazy. If you don't know me, my name is Josh Coffey. I'm the founder of the E-Commerce Alley, and with me I have R2D2 and my brother Jacob, who is also in the E-Commerce Alley.
I like how I got introduced after R2.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't go with your chair and the bag of coffee in the background next.
Yeah,
and
well,
then me.
You never know. You never know. R2 has been hanging out for well over a year now. He made his way into the studio.
No one ever comments on R2.
No one comments
No one
on
ever
R2D2.
asks, like, what
Yeah.
is the deal with R2 in the background? Everyone's just like, it's just part of it.
Yes,
So.
yes. Well, hey, it's good to have all of you here. If you could, you know what, let's get this to the rest of the group. Go ahead and like drop the heart or the like button if you're liking or hearting this. And then let us know, number one, is this your first, drop a number one in the comments if it is your first live stream in the E-Commerce Alley, or number two, if you're here not for the first time.
I never liked the saying drop a number two, but yeah, that works for sure. I know we usually have a bunch of people, or even last time we had the 8s, 9s, 10s, and 20 plus billions coming in. So Frankie is here hanging out. Corinne, this is your first time. Good to have you.
Rock and roll.
Paula coming back. Nicole, good to have you for the first time. Bogdan, absolutely coming back here, as well as Sheldon. So good surprise. Carrie Punches as well. Good handful of you here for the first time. So it's super cool to have you.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're glad you're here. And what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna introduce you to something that we call, this is a testing framework for Facebook ads. It's called the AdLab method. We have an on-demand course for it, but then we do a live version where we're in the studio and we do Q&As and we do deep dive sessions. We do it every couple of months. And so we're doing it this coming Monday, so January 29th, 30th and 31st. It's 2 hours a day. If you can't make it, it's okay. Inside, we have a private Facebook group for that. The replays are available immediately after. If you're interested in that, our team will drop a link. It's $27. I promise you. And anyone here, I don't know if anyone here can attest or has attended the live version of it. It's a ton of fun. And we're gonna go really, really deep. So what I wanna do is overview how we test ads using the AdLab method. I'm gonna overview the framework in today's session. Now, if you're like, hey, I wanna dive in and learn the ins and outs and get like even further into it, that's what the boot camp is for. All right, so why do we actually test ads like this? Well, back in the day, and we've been advertising, by the way, for 10 years, since 2013. Actually, we're over 10 years in now. And things have changed over time. Back in the day, what used to happen is you would whip together a mediocre ad, because none of us are really that great at putting together ads for the most part, and you could just go really hyper-targeted with an audience. I could say, I wanna go to people who have an interest in coffee mugs and yoga, and also are engaged shoppers on Facebook, and are between ages 24 and 25 that are women. And if that's your audience, it would do really well, and we would get really great results from it. But over time, Facebook has changed. The trends have changed. In fact, an hour and a half ago, we just wrapped up a podcast in here. Dylan and I, our media buyer, were in here, and we did a podcast episode that's gonna drop here in the next week and a half. It's going to drop on the state of advertising for 2024, like what we're seeing, trends that we're seeing. And I'm going to give you the quick and dirty, and that is that the trend is targeting is continuing to become less important and ads are becoming more important. So for example, I could take a great ad and I could run it to select no targeting, and I can go what's called broad, or I could just say, hey, Facebook, take this one ad and find the right person. And if it's a great ad, we can scale these ads into many, many thousands of dollars, even per day in some accounts, with 1 or 2 or 3 ads. In our example, we run 4 ads. And so how we find those ads is what I want to cover today. But conversely, we couldn't take really bad ads that are like not that much thought into them and take bad ads and put them to a hyper-targeted audience and do well. So we're just seeing ads are becoming more important every single day, and they have great stability. If you can find the right ads, you can take these ads and we can run these for a long time. We have campaigns that we were given numbers in the podcast, and it's a nerdy deep dive podcast, let me tell you. And we looked in a dozen total accounts, and we're breaking down what we're seeing on the actual like front lines. And in that, there are some accounts that are running like 2 or 3 or 4 ads at the very most. And all of them, use this methodology I'm going to show you to find those ads that some of them are running for like 4 or 5 months and didn't even have to touch their campaigns. It's just producing orders every day. And they don't have to go do a ton of testing and a ton of ads. They just literally set it. And I don't want to say forget it because we still check it, but it allows us to at least have the stability in our business and scale as needed. So if that sounds like something that you're like, hey, Josh, I would love to learn, then drop a thumbs up in the chat. Thumbs up if you're like, Josh, I'm done listening to you talk. Let's get to like some nitty gritty. You're
not gonna make them go dig for some obscure emoji that like you've never seen used before.
Yeah, I want the little purple Pac-Man ghost emoji.
And a Ugandan flag. Let's go. Cool. Well, awesome. Let's see. Carrie, Frankie. Yep. Paul, Nicole, Alex. Rock and roll.
And actually, who's attending this live on Monday? Who's attending live? I've seen a lot of like Passover of people that are like coming from, bought a ticket, and then now they already found this group. I'm not sure who's attending live, but I'd love to know. And
what's
it's going to be
crazy is
legit.
like, I would say, I mean, a majority of almost all this group has attended or plans to attend these live events that are coming in. But Frankie looks like coming live next week.
Heck yeah.
The Birdhouse Nature Store, Inc. I don't know what's going on there, but I absolutely love it. Excited to take a look at your store as well. Corinne, attending. Very cool. You guys are going to be the A+ students next week because you are getting the whole lowdown today on what's going to be going on. So you'll be ready to rock.
Cool.
And
It's gonna be fun.
We have a purple jellyfish in the chat as well.
Hey, we got a jellyfish. I'm counting it. Let's do it. So,
rock and roll.
So I want to break down why what we're going to show you works. And for those of you attending, by the way, next week, we bring the heat. Like, we do not hold back. And it is, let's just say it's a very entertaining time. It's an educational, very hands-on. It's going to be like fire hose with information of exactly what to do, but it's also very entertaining. We have a lot of really fun stuff planned. And so the reason we test like we test and why the AdLab method I'm going to show you works is actually based on what Facebook cares about. So I don't know who runs Facebook ads right now, but you may not know this. Facebook automatically in what's called the auction place. It's like instantaneous. They have an algorithm that does this. And when you publish your ads to go live, here's what happens. Facebook assigns each ad something that's called a total value. So your ad, whether you knew this or not, is getting assigned a total value in here. So as soon as you publish it, it's going to give you a total value that's going to determine a lot of, hold on, let me undo that. It's going to determine a lot of things for you. And it's going to take into consideration 3 different things. The first thing it's going to take into consideration, let me get my handy dandy pen out here. The first thing it can take into consideration is what's called your bid. All right, so the bid is like if Facebook has a gavel, this is the gavel. Nobody make fun of my gavel. That's a gavel. If Facebook has, if Facebook's like, hey, here's the bid, for X amount of dollars, Facebook automatically assigns you a bid amount. And what this means is Facebook assigns an amount that it is gonna predetermine it charges you for that ad to reach people. This is often called CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. So instantaneously, based on your account history and based on the ad and Facebook's AI and predictions and stuff, it's gonna assign something behind the scenes called a bid amount. So it's gonna assign this bid amount. And then what it does is it takes this bid amount and then it gives you what's called an estimated action rate. And this is a percentage. So Facebook will say, hey, based on your account history, based on what you're publishing for what audience, we believe that this is the percentage of estimated people that are going to take your desired action. So if my action that I want is purchase, most of you, by the way, should be running purchase. That's the action we want. Based on your account history and those ads and the audience and all of these variables that Facebook has, it's gonna make a prediction as to what it believes your estimated action rate percentage is going to be. And so after it determines this, it's gonna do one final thing. And it's going to determine what's called I spelled quality wrong here. Hold on. It's kind of hard to talk and write, let me tell you. Quality score. And if you don't know what that is, so like let's just say, all right, that's a little ribbon. I don't know, quality score. Okay, so it's gonna assign you what's called a quality score.
Is that the jellyfish?
Yeah, it's probably, it all has a purpose. It's all coming together.
Everything's linked like a story.
So these are the things that happen. In all of these combined, so bid times estimated action rate plus quality score equals what's called your total value. So Facebook gives you this total value number. And you're probably asking yourself, what does any of this mean? And the answer to that is nobody knows what it means. But Facebook knows what it means, and that's what matters. And so if we know that Facebook is looking at, they're gonna assign a bid amount to you, like how much you're gonna have to pay for your ads, times what they estimate your action rate to be, plus the quality score of your ad, meaning the ad is very relevant to people. They want relevant ads because it says, hey, these ads are ideal and relevant for our people on Facebook. They want people to have good experiences on Facebook. And so they assign you a total value, and then that's what you're gonna end up paying at the end of the day for advertising. And so our goal is to get the highest. We want this total value score to be very, very high. And if we can do this, then what happens is Facebook is gonna give you this algorithm love. So it's gonna give you, you're not gonna pay as much for ads. It's gonna be able to find people a lot quicker, and you're gonna get better results, which is gonna give you as many customers as you want until you can scale and production and fulfillment become your bottleneck. And I'll tell you, in the last week, we had 3 or 4 clients all find their super ads using the AdLab method. I'm gonna show you how it breaks down here in a little bit. They found their ads, and in the last week, they all ran them, and they are doing more profit than they ever have before in Facebook. They got the algorithm love. They're getting lower advertising costs, and they are scaling really quickly because all we need to do is find some kind of an ad that gets this really high total score. And so our objective when we're creating ads, I share all this, and I know I'm getting in the weeds here. This is a little nerdy. I'm gonna simplify this here very soon. But the reason we wanna do this is because what we want to do is we wanna find these ads that if the ad is really great, here's what's gonna happen. Our cost right here, our bid, is gonna go down. So we're gonna pay less. And if we can, at the same time, if we can get what are called higher quality scores, then we're gonna have lower advertising costs, higher quality scores, and higher action rates. And what's gonna happen is we're gonna be able to advertise a lot more profitably. And so this is our objective with the AdLab method. The goal is to say, hey, how do we find ads that are gonna produce with stability and profitability? And sometimes, and here's the interesting thing, using the AdLab method, like how we test a lot of the ads that are gonna do well, you would never guess. Like we have this ad. I don't know, has anyone seen an ad of me with a cardboard sign? Has anyone seen that ad?
I've seen it.
Ever? I've seen it. I see it every day. We're running we're advertising right now for our boot camp. So
There
of
it
course,
is.
some of you, Dylan actually has he has it like on repeat.
We
just
have
because
it
reference
saved
it.
on several hard drives.
Yeah. Has anyone seen this ad? You know, people love or hate this ad, by the way. I'm one of the people that hates it only because I'm like, I don't know why this ever did well. We were just like, hey, let's just write on a cardboard sign and have Josh sit outside our office. And we did it, and people love or hate it. They're like, I love this. It's creative. It's kind of cool. It got me to stop the scroll. And then you have people that are like, I hate it. He looks like he's homeless. He looks like he's like panhandling. He looks like, I'm just like, hey, we were just a couple guys who were like, let's just snap a photo with an iPhone and let's try this image. And then we ran this through the AdLab, and we can't beat this ad. This ad has spent over $250,000 in the last like 16 months. On one freaking ad.
People saying that's how I got here, and every day, absolutely.
Every day. Sorry. Hey, by the way, sorry everybody. We're running a 14-day promo sprint for this boot camp. This ad will pretty much be gone after Sunday this week. So anyway, what we need to do is find ads like that, ads that we can go and we can spend a lot of money on that don't fatigue, that give us this great stability and peace of mind in our business. Like imagine not needing to check your ads manager every day to wonder if things are going okay. When we were filming the podcast on the state of advertising, I was talking to Dylan. I said, you know, outside of this big 2-week sprint we're running right now, we have a lot of evergreen ads running. And I said, how often does it take you to manage the ads? And Dylan said, well, let's just say if it was my full-time job, there'd be a lot of thumb twiddling and I would probably get fired because we check in on the ads, but we don't have to touch them, but like once for like 15 minutes a week, if at all. Most of it is just monitoring. So if we can find the right ads, it'll give you stability and it'll give you the profitability, which gives you a lot of control in your business. Like to feel like, hey, I'm not like, it's not 9:30 at night, I'm checking my ads manager and then it just wrecks my whole evening and I'm up all night because I'm like stressed out of my mind with this anxiety that like, holy crap, the ads didn't do well today. No, we have this peace of mind knowing that they're producing consistently. And so that's, I share this, and I know this is nerdy, and this is probably like Josh, over the top. I don't really care about total value, but this is what's happening behind the scenes and why it's so important to find ads that really, really work. And Jeff Bezos has a great quote. He says, our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, and per day. And so we want to run tests to find those ads. And then once you find that cadence, you're going to be able to unlock what you really need inside your business.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Okay.
We're ready to get into the nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty. Okay, so there are two ways to advertise. And at least in our experience, and things have changed over the years, there is the old way, and we have the new way. All right, so we have the old way and we have the new way. Now, the old way, here's what we did from an advertising standpoint for so many years. And you know what? It's the old way because it worked back then. Things have changed. And here's what it looks like. We have a campaign level. So we have our campaign here. All right, so we have our campaign. And we might say, okay, the objective is sales. And I'm going to put in parentheses here, purchase. That doesn't look like a parenthesis, it looks like an L. Okay, so we have our campaign level and we have purchases here. Well, from here, what we would typically do if we're like, hey, we want to really figure out what ads are working, what audiences are working, what products are working, etc. What we normally do is we would come in and we would have an ad set. All right, so we have an ad set here. And in the ad set level, this, by the way, the ad set level is where we set our targeting. So what we used to do is come in and say, okay, we want to do some testing. We don't know what works. Like fresh slate. Let's pretend I don't know anything, right? And I'm coming in to say what works. Well, I'm going to create a campaign for sales, and I would say, hey, I'm going to put 3 ad sets in here, and I'm going to select targeting option number 1, like interest number 1. Maybe I do a lookalike for number 2, or like I'm targeting coffee shops for number 1. Coffee cups for number 2, and then coffee is a general targeting interest for number 3. Right? They're all different. There's probably some overlap, but I would test 3 different audiences. And then inside here, I would say, okay, well, I need to have at least a couple ads, right? So in here on the ad level, I'm gonna load in 4 different ads because I'm trying to test, right? I'm trying to figure out what's gonna actually work. But on the ad level, these ads would have different maybe creatives. Some of them are images, some of them are videos. They would have different primary text. They would have different headlines. These are, by the way, the core elements of an ad. And maybe even in these, I'm testing a couple different products to see what really resonates, right? Well, by the time we run this campaign, the question is, after we run everything, big old question mark. What worked, what didn't, why did it, and why didn't it work? Couple questions going on here. The challenge with the old way is when we factor all of these elements in. One, if we had a campaign, we have different targeting. The question is it the targeting that the problem is? Maybe the targeting was bad and that was the issue. Is it the creatives? Is it the primary text? Is it the headlines? Is it the product? Or maybe if I have a product selected, is it the offer, right? So we have all of these question marks. And each one of these is a different variable. And the challenge is when you take variable after variable, there has this exponential amount of variables that are happening inside a campaign that at the end of the day, you're like, what the heck? Why did this do well? Or why didn't this do well? What was it that actually translated to sales? What was it that translated to me just flushing money down the drain or learning from that, right? And the problem is with this, if we're trying to find, if we know that ads are the most important thing right now, and I'm telling you right now, ads are the most important thing. Good ad to any audience is gonna work. And if ads are the most important thing, this is really hard to know if it's the ad, if it's the targeting, if it's the headline, if it's the product, what part of the ad is it? And because there's so many different variables in here, this requires a high amount of resource. So testing this way has a high amount of resource. It's also slow because if you're running in here, you got to give them all a fair shot to run. This will take weeks. It'll take weeks or even longer than that to test. From a investment money standpoint, this is a high amount of financial investment. Usually to do this type of testing, when we would run this, it would take us like a month to find these winners, and it would cost us thousands of dollars just to figure out what they were. And that was like if we could figure it out, because sometimes we couldn't. There were too many variables, and because we weren't isolated, we couldn't figure it out. But back then, Facebook was really good with targeting, so it kind of helped out a little bit, but now it's not like that anymore. And so at the end of the day, with this methodology, I have learned that it is very frustrating more than anything, because there's nothing like not knowing if something's working or why something's working or why it's not and if it's not working. It's very frustrating. We have all of these variables. And so what we decided to do, and I actually, we were introduced to some of this concept by a mentor of ours. And he said, it's better to get volume in over trying to go super deep, because volume gives you this statistical probability that something is going to resonate. And so let me give you an example. If I was to test 3 headlines or 4 headlines in some ads, or I was to test 40, well, out of 40, there's probably somewhere in there, there's probably a statistical outlier that has more probability of outperforming the rest. And so we're looking, when we want to test, we don't want to just say, hey, I have 3 creatives, put all our eggs in these 3. Imagine, and I know you're probably thinking like, hey, that's a lot of work, Josh, I don't know how to do it. Don't worry, I'm going to talk through that. Imagine if you tested 30 creatives. There's statistical probability that 1 or 2 or 3 of those will have a 99% chance of outperforming the rest. And so that's why we created what we call the AdLab method. And this is the new way of testing. And if you do this way of testing, I assure you, you're gonna remove your emotion from the equation, and you're gonna be able to find ads much more efficiently that can scale and stay profitable with great stability for a long period of time. So real quick here, I'm gonna try to, Jake, if you wanna just kill time, I'm trying to expand the size of this this document here, just so I can write more stuff in here.
Sure, I didn't actually prepare any stand-up comedy or anything, if that's what you were expecting.
That is what I was
expecting. If I had
expecting.
my iPad, I could have continued doing some more fun drawings and animations, and then you can compare who's the better drawer, Josh or I, and you'd find that we were both terrible and did really bad in art class in high school. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks for killing time.
Dude,
we killed time talking about killing time.
All part of the
love
machine.
it. That works, man. We've done this before. Okay. So what we're going to change about this is a couple of things. First, we're going to change how we structure and how we structure our ads and how we isolate things. And so if we look at an ad, here, you usually have a couple things. So like, let's say right here, you have your, and I'm using the Facebook ad as an example here. You have the page, a little profile photo, and you have the name of your page, and then you have like 2 lines of text, and then you're gonna have an image, and then a little bitty headline, maybe it goes to 2 lines, and then you're gonna have a little call to action button. Probably looks familiar to everybody. So if this is what our ads look like, there are a couple elements in this, 3 key elements in particular. So we have the primary text, we have the creative, and we have the headline. And in the old way, we would mix and match a lot of these and just kind of hope for the best. So if we want to become scientific, scientifically doing this is going to require isolation. So we need to come in and we need to look at each one of these elements and say, okay, we need to isolate the headline here, the creative here, and the primary text. Because I want to take the best of these with the greatest outlier probability. And I want to figure out what actually works so that I can take my momentum and put my ad spend into those. And that's going to optimize and it's going to produce the profit and really allow us to experience what we're ultimately trying to get out of ads. And that is profitable with our ads. And so when we set up this campaign, it's going to be a little bit different. And how we structure this, so if that's the ad, we're gonna come down here to the campaign level. And I'm gonna run out of space, but we'll keep going. So instead, we're gonna have the campaign level here. The objective, instead of sales, is going to be traffic. All of you attending next week, you're getting a little sneak peek here, but don't worry, we'll go into way more depth next week. So the campaign level, and then if we are going to test each of these 3 elements, right, we need our primary text, we need the best headlines or creatives, and we need the best headlines. Well, guess what? These are each one of those tests. And so when we go test these, we're gonna test these to the same audience. We're removing that variable. In the old way, what happens is you have different targeting, different audiences you're going after and you're targeting. And because of that, it introduces more variables. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna have the same exact audience. But here's where it gets different. When we do the ads, we're gonna be launching, we want to take as many shots as we can at figuring out which gets the best. And I only wrote 5 on these as an example here. But when we're testing on the ads, we are going to isolate, the better way to do this is to isolate each one of these elements. So for example, if I wanted to isolate, you have to have a creative for Facebook, so you always have to have a creative no matter what. So if I'm gonna isolate the primary text, if I was gonna isolate the primary text, here's what this would look like. We would have primary text, we'd have a simple image of your product, and no headline. Or a simple headline, where it'd just be the name of the product. If we were testing the creative, we're gonna run an ad that has no primary text. We're gonna have different creatives. So we have a lot of different variety of creatives, and then we're gonna have the same simple headline of exactly what the product is. So what's happening here is you'll notice we're removing things. And same thing for the headline. So for the headline test, there is no primary text. There is a simple image of the product that you're trying to sell, and then different headlines, right? Because that's the variable that we're trying to test here. So in here, you'll notice we are isolating things. So we're removing primary text. So that's not even a variable in whether something works or not. We're removing primary text in this one too. We're keeping a simple headline and we're testing different creative. So that's the thing that we're actually gonna be testing here. And so in the AdLab method, here's what this looks like from a tactical standpoint. We go and we say, okay, I can create 3 primary texts and hope for the best. Or I can create 5 to 10. And yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of work. It'll take a couple minutes per primary text. We're not trying to spend 30 minutes writing a primary text. Maybe we use ChatGPT. But the objective is to say, okay, can I spend 60 seconds or a couple minutes on primary text or 60 seconds or less on creating a headline, or use ChatGPT, and can I create 25 headlines? And then can I create 20 images or creatives using what I already have, by the way, using the product mock-ups, the lifestyle photos, and remove my emotion, remove the idea of I need to go doctor these up and spend a lot of time on these creatives. You'll notice like that image with me in a cardboard sign, that's literally just like, boom, iPhone photo. Pretty simple. You don't need high production creatives like you may think that you actually need. And so what we're gonna go do is, because this is not testing the old way, we're going for volume. So on the ad level, the goal is volume. And what I mean by that is with each element, we're gonna test, we wanna create. So we got, let's say, headlines, we have creatives, and we have primary text. We're gonna create at least 5 or more primary text. We're gonna create at least 15 or more creatives, or piece together. By the way, create does not mean you have to go build it. We're gonna use what we have. Simple images of the products, videos, UGC, assets you already have. Try to get to 15, even if there's some variety with or variations of the same thing, different color backgrounds, etc. And then headlines, we're gonna try at least 15 or more headlines. And so when we go create these, it's gonna allow us to then, we create the volume, and then it's gonna allow us to run a traffic campaign where under each one of these ad sets, we're gonna load these ads in here, and we're gonna run them. And it's because we're running them like this, it's gonna isolate each variable, the creatives, the headlines, and the primary text, to the same audience. So we've removed that variable as a potential. And then we're going to spend $3 per test. And how we do this is with automation. So we can set up a little automated rule inside of Facebook that says, hey, if I load in 15 creatives into this ad set in number 2, if I load in 15 creatives and it runs for, I can set it up so that after each ad has spent $3, it turns the ads off. So what happens is, within about 24 hours, we'll have all of the ads shut off. What do we do with that? Once the ads are shut off, we can then look at click-through rates, unique click-through rates, and say, okay, of the 15, there's gonna be a creative you put in there that gets like a 0.1% click-through rate. Then you're gonna have a creative in there that gets a 5.1% click-through rate. Well, let's pretend that you didn't run these tests and spend $3 times the number of tests. So if you did 15 creatives, you got $45 in testing. If we didn't do this, we're relying on our hunch and our gut on something versus the math of it. So if I have 15 creatives that I tested, one gets a 5% click-through rate, one gets a 0.1% click-through rate. Imagine if I did the old way and I just went with my gut and I launched and I'm like, hey, the 0.1%, I believe this is the best one out there, and I just launched it and hoped for the best. What this does is it removes the emotion from it and your gut from it, and instead relies on the mathematics of it. And the cool thing is, when we run this test, we will create, yeah, I know it sounds a lot, 15 or 20 headlines or 15 creatives. I never do that much volume. Don't worry, when you do this type of testing, the goal is not to spend, again, 5 minutes writing a headline. We're talking 60 seconds or less, and not trying to actively make sure it's the best headline in the world. Write what comes to mind, what might stick. Some of the headlines you might write, you would never expect them to do well, and they do well. And so use ChatGPT, pull from what you already have. Creative-wise, you could build things if you want, but just pull from what you have. Minimize the effort. Let's use what we have to get some traction. You'd be surprised at what actually ends up happening. But by doing this, what happens is we now remove our emotion. We let the market tell us what they want to click on. We're going for traffic, so the tests are going to run really fast, and it's going to get us a volume of clicks and a volume of people that give us unique it shows us outlier probability of, hey, this ad got a lot of people clicking on it. So the probability of this performing when we move this into purchase campaigns is substantially higher. And I'm telling you, using this methodology, it has allowed us to scale campaigns, to scale ads, to find things that we never would have thought would have done well and get traction inside of stuff. We get all the time on our ads, we get emails every day, we get DMs of people saying, hey, my ad results tripled just by spending a few $100s, isolating each variable, running a traffic campaign, spending $3 on a test, taking those winning headlines, creatives, primary text, assembling them together, we call them super ads, by the way, and then moving those into a conversion purchase campaign. And so this is how we do stuff, and this is like the high level overview of what is gonna actually happen inside our bootcamp that's next Monday. I'd recommend checking it out, but if not, here's the thing. Some of you are really smart cookies. You could look at this and say, okay, how do I go isolate? How do I do some of those things? And you could just do this on your own. But this is the difference. The old way, we're relying a lot on our gut. We're relying on we're just kind of hoping it will work out. Now what we're saying is we want to find these ads that have statistical probability of outperforming the rest. And the only way you do that is when you test in volume. A friend of ours that does this methodology as well, he gave me a great analogy, and he said, you know, advertising is a lot like golfing. If you tried to get good at golfing when you were just on the green, you have 18 holes. You don't have a lot of shots, right? But where you get good is when you take your club and you bring it with you to the office, and you have clubs at your house. And by the way, I'm not a golfer, so this isn't as much, I don't resonate as much with this. But you know, if you're a golfer, you'll understand, right? So if you're trying to get good on the green, it's really hard. What happens is behind the scenes, when you're working on your grip, when you're working on your form, when you're working on your swing, that's where you get good. And then when you go to the green, that's where you get to implement that. This is the same methodology. If you can isolate each of these, you get a volume, you get your reps in. When you go to the green, which is in this case, conversion purchase campaigns on Facebook ads, you're gonna perform a lot better because you have gotten your reps in and you have gotten down the form and you have figured out what's working by isolating each one of those variables. Just like I would work on a grip, or I would work on my swing, or I would work on my stance. Is that making sense for everybody? If it is, go ahead and drop a yes, it makes sense. If it's like, this is exploding my brain, do the little brain explosion emoji. I think that's a suiting emoji for this. And I know I talk a little fast and I kind of overviewed this. This is the what. How we're gonna do that, we'll teach it on Monday. But ultimately, this is what we see doing better than anything. Gives us greater stability, greater scale, greater profit than any other way we have been testing in the last 2 years.
Looks like Nabila in here, and if I'm mispronouncing your name, please just call me out on it so I don't look like a fool the rest of the time. I'll sign up for the AdLab course in the bootcamp on Monday. Super pumped to have you there. It's going to be an incredibly good time. Randy says, I must be slow. No, Josh just touched and accidentally on 2x speed. Eric is good to go. Irina, excellent. Eric's test. Marching on board. Cool. Rock and roll, you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we'll have, if we have time at the end, we could totally wrap up with a few questions as well. So if you have questions, feel free. We can go over those here at the end. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, let's close up. So I'm overviewing. It looks like about 20 minutes here. I'd love to do some Q&A. I'm happy to answer questions even on Facebook ads and other stuff too. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop that in the chat. If we want to elaborate more on this, I can also hop in and elaborate more on this. And I would just say, I think Randy said, hey, I must be slow. I talk really fast, but also this is a lot. Like, this is a lot of stuff. And you get better at it as you go, and as you hear the terminology, and as you start to get into and I'm not sure your experience with Facebook ads, but as you kind of get in the ecosystem, especially of the e-commerce alley, like we talk about this stuff all the time, it'll start to make sense. And I don't know if you're going to the bootcamp or not, that will clarify this like when I'm going in and I'm in the ads manager and I'm showing you ad examples and showing you how to isolate and like doing the entire process with you, it'll definitely simplify it. Yes, and on Monday is when we start diving into that. And all 3 days, I go a lot slower. We have a lot more time. It allows me to show you visually with ads and examples in every single step of it in the Ads Manager.
Yeah, Eric was asking for clarification as well earlier here. If we only use the traffic objective while testing, and looks like he's also signed up for the bootcamp on Monday. Cool.
Yes. We only use traffic objective for the only other objective. Then there should be no other objective other than purchase or maybe lead. Nothing. If you're in e-commerce, traffic is it's not gonna get you purchasers. It gets you market data. It gives you a lot of volume, which is why we use it here to get volume. It gives you volume on the data so we know what we can then move in. So yeah, I'm not gonna use traffic in any other scenario other than this campaign. Purchase is what everybody should be going for. If you're doing a lead gen campaign, then that. But we recommend 90 to 95% of your budget be set on purchase if you're in e-commerce.
Corinne says, I've wasted thousands of dollars on an agency and I'm loving what you are putting down. That would have been the perfect opportunity, Corinne, to say I'm picking up what you're putting down. You know, that whole phrase.
I love it.
Awesome. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thanks for being here. Cool.
Yeah, well, hey, and I don't know, Corinne, if you're attending on Monday, this will make a lot more sense when we break this down and how we use this. In the examples of how we use this. We'll give really tangible examples. We'll give numbers. We'll show you some really, really cool stuff. But I promise you, anybody here, by the way, we have an agency. So I could say this, and we've done an agency for 10 years. Most people think they need an agency right out of the gates because like you don't know. It's kind of scary. Like advertising is a little scary. Like what the heck is the ads manager? How does this work? Like how do I build ads? How do I know when to scale? How do I know when to optimize? All of those things. I'll tell you, those are the highest leverage activities that you can do as an e-commerce business owner. We have an episode on the podcast, it releases Monday. It's the first 5 hires. If you don't listen to the E-commerce Alley podcast, go check it out. We're like 100 plus episodes in. So I talk about the first 5 hires. The last hire and the thing you should outsource in that podcast is your advertising. It's the lifeblood of your business. It gives you control over your business and your growth. And so I'll tell you this, if you get your ads just right and you invest in yourself, you learn some of those skills and you don't have to pay the agency, you're gonna have so much more profit because agencies generally scale with your ad spend on a percentage and all that good stuff. But like we can run thousands of dollars a day on campaigns with an hour of management or less. Once they're stabilized, obviously we're familiar, we've been doing this for a long time. So once you know what you're doing, you could be very leveraged in your advertising. If you spent $10 a day or $100 a day, it doesn't take you 10 times longer to manage it. It takes you like 2 minutes more. So it's a very leveraged activity. Highly recommend really leaning into it. I'm excited to have you next week.
Janae asked, will the course next week cover conversion campaigns for purchases or just creating ads?
Yeah, so we're gonna cover ad testing, creating the ads, ad testing. There are so many facets of Facebook ads. We have a higher program that it's like, hey, if you want it, cool. But if not, this is a standalone. This is our ad testing methodology next week. So we're gonna break down every element of our ad testing. But from that point, we have people that don't want our higher stuff and they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go take these ads and throw them into conversion campaigns, and they email us later and like, holy crap, these are insane results. How do I get access to like all 30 hours of what you guys do? So next week is a portion of it. We're gonna teach you the most important piece of advertising, and that is ad testing. There are so many other ways, scaling campaign structures, optimizations, and stuff like that. We don't have time to get into that next week, but next week is about ad testing in particular.
Cool. Well, hey, if there's any other questions, let's see here. Lisa, what is your feeling on the Meta Specialist that Facebook provides or Meta Pros once you reach a certain level of ad spend?
So I get about 5 calls a day. We have access to over, we have access to closing in on 200 ad accounts. You can imagine how many calls we get. So if you ever see something calling and it says from Palo Alto, California, or it says Facebook or Meta as a description, if your phone identifies them, just hang up. Don't ever pick up. Well, first of all, you're gonna get a rep for about 3 seconds. And then the next day you're gonna have a different rep because they churn so many people. I'm not trying to be hypercritical, but I'm gonna just share some real world stuff. Almost every single time we implement what Meta Pros, they're more like Meta Text. They just do what Facebook says to tell them to do. They're not actual pros. They're not They're not business owners. They're not practitioners of what they do. In fact, we give them a shot. So we have a higher degree. We're like in a mid-market tier level of support is what they call it. So like there's low when you spend under, I don't know, $250,000 a year. I don't know. There are thresholds that they know. They don't tell you, and then they tell you later. So when you spend under a certain amount, you have a certain level of support, and it's the worst, by the way. The support, if you spend like under six figures a year, is just really, really bad. Then there's this next tier, and you get to mid-tier. That's kind of where we're at. Then you get to the millions of dollars a month. We're not there quite yet. And so when you get there, you think, oh, this is better. And so they met with us, and we did this in Q4. I'm like, hey, every quarter, I give them a shot, or not every quarter. We give them a shot to give us advice, and we go implement it once or twice a year. And so we had a girl named Catherine, and she said, hey, this is what you need to do. This is going to get you better results, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hey, Catherine, you know what? I'm going to trust you. I'm even willing to give you $2,000, and I'll spend it in the next 4 days if this is what you believe. And she's like, okay, this is what you need to do. I'm telling you, this is the best. I'm like, all right, Catherine, I'm naming this Catherine's Campaign. I literally named it Catherine's Campaign with her on it. We ran the results, and we made $27 on $2,000 in spend. And guess what? They ended up giving us the they gave us a credit back for it because it was so bad. But every time we implement Meta Pros, our campaigns go down like this. So that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Oof. Yep.
Not to be too critical, but yeah, hang up the phone and don't listen to them. You're better off watching YouTube videos.
Yeah. Let's see. Eric says great ROI.
Yeah, right.
Marlon asks, he says he saw a video of ours that when we capped the age at 64 instead of 65 plus, is there a reason behind that? And to clarify, that's specifically for the AdLab method, which
Yes.
of course we'll dive more into that Monday if you're at the boot camp. But I don't know if you want to provide any more clarity.
Yeah,
here.
in the AdLab, the only time we do this is in the AdLab. We cap the age at 64, and there's a big reason why. So we'll explain that next week. But essentially, the gist is if you go 65 plus, it's going to skew your data massively. There are a lot of people that are 65 plus that are retired, and they like to apparently just sit at home and click on every single ad that they scroll by, which is every 3 posts on Facebook. So it skews our data pretty bad.
Marlon also asks, will we be providing ChatGPT prompts for each testing phase during the course next week?
I think it's so we allow. I don't remember if we have every single prompt because a lot of ChatGPT changes so fast. So like we'll give you the prompts in like in a week and a half. Like maybe it's a little bit different. I believe the Platinum Pass has it. So we sell it for 27, and then you can upgrade to a Platinum Pass, and I believe that has all the ChatGPT prompts. Don't quote me on it. I think I might be wrong, but
I believe it's in there, but
Okay.
we can double check that, of course.
yeah, I can't remember. But we will show you how to do it. So if you want to literally like stop after we do, we have a bonus session on Monday on writing copy with ChatGPT for this process. And so I give all the prompts. You can just watch the video and just copy them if you really want to. But I don't think we give the actual document with everything and bonus stuff until it's like in the Platinum.
Let's see here. What do you do if your pixel's messed up and data's insane and doesn't report anything correctly?
Well, first get make sure the pixel is proper. So if you're using like Shopify or whatever you're using, just make sure that that's at least like connected properly. Data is going to be off in general because of iOS 14. A lot of things happening, but attribution is what it's called is off and it's delayed. So somebody could buy today and then it may not show up in your ads manager for up to 48 hours. Like it might not even show up till. Today's Thursday, so it might not even show up till Saturday. So attribution is always off. We have ways that we recommend managing budgets on percentages of ad spend and a lot of other things. But yeah, if the pixel is kind of messed up, first I'll try to make sure it's connected properly. And then other than that, yeah, the dashboards are always slightly off or delayed at least.
All right, let's see. Can I access the upgrades prior to starting the course?
Yeah. Other than the lives, but we have a bonus session on Thursday next week. So we're not doing a live stream next week. It's actually going to be used for a Zoom session. It's going to be anyone who has a Platinum Pass. I'm doing a creative blockbusters session where I'm showing you how to build blockbuster creatives and what we see and ways to think about it. And there's like worksheets, and it's on Zoom. It's gonna be a ton of fun. So that's the only thing. But you get the worksheets. If you have the Platinum Pass, you have access to the worksheets. You have access to the prompts. You have access to everything else in advance, other than obviously we have that live session together. And then you get the replay of that.
Looks like Maxwell's getting some love. I think his fur was at the bottom of the screen. So he's getting
He's laying in front of
He's getting some shout outs in the comments right now.
Yeah.
Maxwell just kind of hangs out with us.
He's kind of depressed because his mom is in it.
You get to know Maxwell more during the boot camp next week. He's got some actual videos dedicated. There he is.
Yeah, it's a rough life for Maxwell Coffee, guys. Let me tell you.
Yes, Doug gonna be at the boot camp. Absolutely.
Yeah, you better bet it. Maxwell runs the show here, everybody.
Love it. Cool.
All right.
I'm not seeing any more questions pouring in right now, Josh. So
yeah, and I would just say this I know there's gonna be. We sold out of the tickets as of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It was like midday yesterday. We sell 250, and we honor that too. Like 250, we close it off. We were nearing the closing of it, and I emailed everybody, and I said, "Hey, everyone, we're about to sell this out in like a few minutes. Would you mind us opening this up to more people? We've never had to do this before. We usually just sell out and we close it." And so I emailed everyone, and I said, just respond with a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and just whatever the majority is. And I think we had 1 thumbs down, and we had like 90 thumbs up. So everyone was like, hey, we're cool if we open this up for more tickets, and then we're just gonna dedicate more time from our team. We are present in this group and active in it. So I can't have like 1,000 people in this event because we physically could not manage feedback and engagement, and because we're opening the group up tomorrow at noon. You'll all get, whoever has a ticket will get opened up to it. But we have opened up to 350. And then so that'll probably be sold out by Saturday. It's kind of my gut. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Sunday. So shout out to everybody who's attending and said, hey, thumbs up on letting us bring in a couple more people here. So super excited. It's gonna be a good time though. There we go. Look at all those good looking people right there. Platinum Pass, Creatives Deep Dive. And actually it's 12 to 1:30 p.m. We might need to tweak that. I scheduled that for 90 minutes because I need a lot of time. I'm gonna go deep on that. But cool. Well, if anyone has any questions, drop them. If not, we're going to close up. If you don't listen to the E-Commerce Alley podcast, go check it out. Any platform you listen to, we're on there. Also, YouTube. We're dropping stuff on YouTube actively. It's a video podcast that we do, but then every other Wednesday, we have YouTube videos that are dropping. So we just released one yesterday. We went and we spent $350 on Fiverr. We hired a $5 to build ad creatives for us. We hired a $5, a $20, a $50, a $100, and a $200. And then we took all of their creatives and we ran a $100 test per freelancer to see which one got us the best results. And I break it down, what I liked, what I didn't, the results of those, and some really interesting and important lessons you can kind of learn from it. So if you're like, hey, I'm not super great at building creatives, Josh, go watch that. It'll walk through it. A lot of people ask for a $5 freelancer. I don't know if we're going to share it. Yeah, we already shared it. Okay, I got the thumbs up from Dylan. Yeah, I guess we already shared the link to the $5 freelancer. So, but anyway, we appreciate all of you. We're here to grow with you throughout the year. So if you can attend the boot camp, awesome. I know people are taking this for the 3rd and 4th time because guess what? This is a way of testing and a way of running our advertising, not just something you do once and done. This is something that you do. So if you don't make this one, that's okay. We'll do another one in a couple months. Definitely attend that. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We'll see all of y'all in the group. You are the best. We appreciate you. See you guys. Bye.